The rumors surrounding Jordan Kyrou keep on coming, but is there truth behind the rumors? Haley Taylor-Simon of Locked On Blues joins us to discuss that and the rest of the Blues offseason coming up next on today's Locked On NHL podcast.
You're Locked On NHL, your daily podcast on the National Hockey League. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Gil Martin here, and welcome everybody to the Monday edition of the Locked On NHL podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I want to thank everyone who makes Locked On NHL your first listen every day. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts so you never miss an episode. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. It is my pleasure to welcome back to the show the host of Locked On Blues, Haley Taylor-Simon. And Haley, it's been an interesting offseason in St. Louis. You look at this offseason, are the Blues in a better spot now than they were at the end of the playoffs?
I would have to say yes. And it has been a crazy offseason in St. Louis. While some of the moves may not be as big to others, I believe that the trade of Zach Bolduc, who was one of my personal favorites to Montreal in exchange for Logan Mayhew, was one of the biggest moves that the Blues made. Also, the Blues getting rid of Nick Leddy, giving him to San Jose was a move that I also felt was very appropriate. Those were moves that were going to better the team in the long run. I know that the Blues, Doug Armstrong, GM of the Blues, stated that he actually had a lot of interest in Logan Mayhew prior to the draft when the Canadiens selected him. So for me, I was a little bit less surprised. Now, I was surprised, though, Gil, that the Blues were willing to get rid of Zach Bolduc. This was a player that had such a great second half of the season and a lot of potential. And there is a sort of disappointment, right? Because you want to see some of the younger prospects that you drafted relatively recently succeed. However, there seems to be a lot of hope surrounding Logan, and I know that he had a bit of an iffy past off the ice, but he has, at least from, what Doug Armstrong has said, even the Canadiens personnel, he has made a lot of strides to just be a better person, and I care about how you play. That's my number one priority. However, I also want you to be a good person off the ice too. So if they're saying that, I'm going to trust them because I do trust Doug Armstrong, but I can't lie when I say that I am upset about losing Zach Bolduc.
Where do you think Mayhew will fit into this lineup?
That's a good question. Now, there's a lot of people that are kind of speculating that he might be ready this season. I disagree. I think that him having some time with the Springfield Thunderbirds will maybe be the best scenario for him. I know that he did play 7 games for the Canadiens last season, and while he didn't do as great as a job, I don't want to put too much of that pressure on him because 7 games isn't really like that many games to where you can truly assess a player. But when he was playing with the AHL team of the Canadiens, he was like the AHL All-Star of like the week, and he got all of these awards. So I feel like for me, I just need to see him at least have a little bit of consistency with the Thunderbirds, and maybe, hey, he does a good job within the first month of hockey, then you bring him up. But I wouldn't necessarily say put him on the starting roster immediately. I kind of want to make sure that he's able to adjust and fit in with the system and then bring him up.
The Jordan Kyrou rumors won't go away. It just seems like it's going on. Now, you mentioned before we started recording July 1st, the no trade clause kicks in. So he has to approve any move that may be made. What's the latest, and is he staying or is he going?
Well, ironically, the latest is that there was talks about the Montreal Canadiens. We can't get rid of the Canadiens this offseason. I think he's staying, though. There's always going to be rumors surrounding Jordan Kyrou, and I don't blame people for having interest in him. He did put up 70 points this past season. Past 3 seasons, he did score 30-plus goals. This past season, he did score 36 goals, allowing him to be number 16 in the NHL for most goals scored. So he does hold a lot of value. What I will say is that people really drive me crazy about their reasoning as to why the Blues would even get rid of him. They don't mention maybe the turnovers, maybe it's the bad positioning. They mention this drama. And for those that are listening and not watching, I did put that in quotations because there is no drama with Kyrou and the Blues. There was a comment that Kyrou made when Craig Berube was fired, and he apologized for it, and he didn't necessarily mean it by any means. And people to this day, years later, are saying, oh, well, there's drama between the Blues and Kyrou. Now, if somebody said to me, Gil, hey, with Kyrou's turnovers, it's really hurt the Blues. We saw that in the playoffs. I could then maybe listen to somebody and say, you know what, logical, I completely agree. But when they make up this false narrative surrounding drama, that's not true. I think that's what annoys me. But again, you have Kyrou and Robert Thomas both being paid $8.1 million AAV a season. So it's not like it's an outrageous number. It's not like we're Mitch Marner in Vegas getting paid 12. But I do think that Kyrou was one of the best players on the Blues. Now, he's not the best. That's Robert Thomas, Jordan Binnington, Colton Parayko. But he is up there. So for the Blues to get rid of Jordan Kyrou, they would be a worse team than they are right now. And if you get rid of Kyrou, you're not going to be getting a star player back. You're not going to be getting the first overall draft pick. So it would not make sense for the Blues and for Jordan Kyrou because he would have to approve, by the way, if he does get traded. And not for nothing, but the Blues are a playoff contending team. And you can make the argument that they are a Stanley Cup contending team. Maybe not this season, but in the near future. And he's going to be with the Blues until 2031. So there is plenty of time for the Blues to be a Cup contending team again.
What would it take, theoretically, if they were to trade him? What would they need in return?
Oh, this is a good question. And this is a question that I answer very simply. You would either need to get a star defenseman, a star forward, or the first or second overall draft pick. And you might laugh and you might say, Haley, Jordan Kyrou was drafted in the second round. Okay, fair. But the way that he's played and improved himself, he is a first round type of player, despite the fact that he was drafted in the second round, fifth in the second round, but still second round. I can't tell you a specific player, Gil, because I have not been looking at any players as I don't think this is going to happen. But I think that if anybody thinks that, I saw a name, Nick Suzuki. People are saying, oh, that could be a good trade. No, it wouldn't be. Not that I think Suzuki's a bad player by any means, but it just wouldn't make sense. It does not make sense to trade Kyrou.
Yeah, and I don't think it would make sense for the Canadiens to trade Suzuki either, but that's neither here nor there. What's left on the to-do list for the Blues? You mentioned that this is a playoff team, not that far away from being a cup contending team. What are they looking to add at this point, if anything?
Well, it's who they get rid of, and that is Justin Falk. And I hate to be a Debbie Downer, but I did predict the trading of Nick Leddy to the San Jose Sharks. I said that would be a team that would really benefit from Leddy. And the same thing of Justin Falk. I think both of these players, while they're good NHL players, they're not fitting well on this team. The Blues are in a different spot than San Jose. San Jose is an up-and-coming young team with a lot of talent. Sam Dickinson was a guy who I wanted for the Blues, and I have nothing but high expectations for the Sharks. That's a compliment for San Jose, believe it or not. But for the Blues, you need to get rid of players that are going to hurt your team defensively. Now, again, when we look at the defensemen in the league, Ivan Provorov was a name who I was actually really interested in. Now, he did sign an extension with Columbus, so that's not happening right now. But give some of the younger guys in Springfield a chance. And next offseason, not this offseason, but next offseason, there's a lot of names that are going to be free agents. Attack them. But right now, I just don't want to have another season of having these veteran players who are going to make careless mistakes. Adam Juracek has, and this is what I'm talking about when I'm saying about Springfield, Adam Juracek has improved tremendously as a player. I've watched him play a lot. The Blues drafted him 16th overall in last year's draft. That's the kind of player I want to see play. That's the kind of player that I want to see have ice time. So let's stop having these veteran players who honestly show me nothing but laziness on the ice. And I'm not trying to be that person, But when you see that Jordan Binnington is making all of these killer saves and you're just kind of standing by the post, not doing anything, that doesn't install confidence within me. So I would love to see a guy like Adam Juracek be able to make the team. But I think that the Blues are going to get rid of Justin Folk ahead of this upcoming season.
All right. I'm sure you'll keep an eye on it throughout the offseason. Haley, why don't you tell our viewers and our listeners where they could find the podcast and where they could find you on social media?
Absolutely. So you can find Locked On Blues on YouTube at Locked On Blues, as well as Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you get your podcasts, on Twitter at Locked On Blues. I post daily, even in the off season. So if you want to see your daily Blues content, make sure you check out Locked On Blues.
All right. Thank you so much, Haley.
Thank you.
Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Summer sports are in full swing, and whether you're all about baseball under the lights, golf on the green, or high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. You're already following the action. Why not make it a little more thrilling? With FanDuel, you can get in on the game while your friends are getting sunburned at the beach. I've been using FanDuel to track my favorite matchups, and the app keeps it fresh with new daily promotions and fun ways to bet. It's super easy to use, fast to pay out, and it makes even regular season games feel like must-watch events. New to FanDuel, well, new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Again, if your first $5 bet wins, new customers will get $150 in bonus bets. So open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to get started.